We have a stack of technical schematics on the desk for the new Samsung Bespoke AI JetBot Steam Ultra. And I have to say, looking at these specs, calling this thing a vacuum just feels wrong.
It really does. That's like calling a smartphone a pocket calculator.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the briefing, it positions this machine as a generational shift. We're moving from automated cleaning,
Which is really just a machine repeating a task, you know?
right, to what they're calling autonomous care. So the mission for this deep dive is to really dissect the engineering here and see if that claim is real or if it's just, good marketing. We're going to break this down into three main pillars: the AI, the steam hygiene, and then the whole connected ecosystem.
And honestly, the best place to start is the hardware architecture, because normally when we look at a floor cleaner, we start with the motor, maybe the brush. But here, the first thing that just leaps off the page in the diagrams is the processor.
The Qualcomm Dragonwing processor.
Right. And branding aside, the fact that a floor cleaner needs a processor like this tells you everything about the kind of computational load it's under. This isn't a machine that just follows a zigzag pattern. It's running deep learning neural networks locally on the device itself.
Okay, let's unpack that.
Yeah.
Why does my hallway runner need deep learning?
It comes down to recognition versus just detection. Older robots, they detected things. They'd bump a wall or see a dark shape and just turn around. This Dragonwing chip lets the unit actually recognize specific things. The specs highlight that it classifies objects. It knows the difference between a person, furniture, a cable. And this is so specific, it can even distinguish between cats and dogs.
Wait, it can tell the difference between pets?
It can, and that's not just a gimmick. Cats and dogs move differently, they behave differently, but the real win here with all this processing power is what the briefing calls the pre-cleaning shift.
Okay, this is the part that hit home for me. Because right now, owning a robot vacuum means you have to clean your house before the robot can clean your house.
The pre-clean panic. We've all been there.
Totally. You're running around picking up socks, phone chargers, moving the dog bowl. Because if you don't, the robot eats a cable, gets tangled, and then you find it, beeping sadly under the couch.
And the JetBot Steam Ultra is designed to eliminate that whole human step. Because it can classify a cable as a specific type of hazard, it calculates a micro-avoidance path around it. It doesn't just bump and turn, it navigates around the obstacle. So you can just run the cycle without that tidying up phase.
That is a massive quality of life upgrade. But there's an even more complex scenario in the specs that I think is the real test of this autonomous claim. They call it the liquid decision matrix.
Oh, this is fascinating. This logic tree, it addresses the single biggest failure point of robot moms: cross-contamination.
The latte disaster.
Exactly. You drop your coffee on the kitchen floor. A standard robot, it just sees a dark spot. It thinks dirt. So it runs right over it with a spinning brush and the vacuum going.
And now you've just painted your entire kitchen floor with coffee.
And probably ruined its own motor. But the Bespoke AI JetBot, it uses its sensor array to identify the substance's state. The logic tree is really distinct. First, it detects an anomaly. Step 1, is it solid? If it is, engage the vacuum. Step 2, is it liquid?
So it's actually identifying the state of matter.
Yes, it can distinguish between things like water, juice, coffee, and then the decision matrix splits based on your settings. It can either engage wet clean mode and mop it up, or it can choose to avoid it entirely.
Avoid. So it basically says, nope, not equipped for this, I'm going around.
Correct. It quarantines the mess instead of spreading it. And that decision to not clean something because it would make it worse, that's what separates an intelligent agent from just a dumb tool.
Okay, but for it to make that call, it has to see the liquid. And liquids, especially clear water, they're notoriously hard for sensors to pick.
Which brings us to the perception. The sensor array on this thing is really comprehensive. It has LiDAR, which is pretty standard for mapping now, but it pairs in with active stereo.
What's the difference? What do you need?
So LiDAR is like a long-range measuring unit. It spins around and tells the robot that wall is 10 feet away. Great for a floor plan, but LiDAR can shoot right over a puddle or a flat cable. The active stereo 3D sensors use two cameras to create depth perception, basically just like our eyes do. That's what lets the robot see texture and volume on the floor.
And that leads to the whole digital twin idea they mentioned in the paperwork.
Right. It's building a full 3D model of your home. But it's more than just geometry. It uses what they call AI floor detect to understand the surface texture. It knows this is the deep pile rug versus this is the hallway hardwood.
And it changes how it behaves based on that.
Instantly. This is the carpet strategy. As soon as its sensors feel the fibers of a rug, Two things happen. First, the suction motor ramps way up to pull dust from deep inside. Second, and this is the crucial part, it physically lifts its own mop pads.
It retracts them.
Yep, to keep the carpet dry. And then the millisecond it crosses back onto the hardwood, the pads drop, the water starts, and it goes back to mopping.
That transition, from rug to wood or room to room, it brings us to a hardware feature I think people might overlook. The Easy Pass wheels.
It sounds kind of boring, but this solves a major physics problem.
Threshold. I have this transition strip in my kitchen that it's nothing. My current robot doesn't get it.
That's the exact mixed floor home area they want though. Typical robot wheels are static. The Easy Pass wheels on this JetBot are articulated. They can actually lift the entire chassis of the robot vertically.
How much clearance are we talking?
The spec sheet says it can climb up to 2.4 inches. That's 6 centimeters.
Wait, 6 centimeters? That's huge. That's way more than a standard door threshold.
It's massive. It means it can get over thick rugs, room dividers, uneven floors that would stop almost any other robot. And again, it ties back to that autonomous care idea. If you have to get off the couch to rescue the robot from a door frame, it's not autonomous. This hardware makes sure it can actually navigate the map you give it.
So it can see the mess, identify it, and climb over things to get to it.
Let's talk about the cleaning itself, because the steam in the name is not just marketing.
No, this is the hygiene pillar. And this is where the engineering gets, well, pretty aggressive.
Most robot mops are just dragging a wet cloth around. Maybe it vibrates a little, but it's cold water.
Exactly. This unit has an integrated steam generation module, and the specs say it generates steam that reaches 100 degrees Celsius. That's 212 Fahrenheit. Boiling point.
On a moving robot, that sounds intense. What's the real benefit of steam versus just, scrubbing hard?
It's thermodynamics. Think about washing a greasy pan. With cold water, you're mostly just but hot water, the heat energy itself, melts the exclusions and bonds. Exactly. The steam loosens all that grime so it can be wiped away without harsh chemicals. The other benefit, and main, is sanitization. But I have to place different. Wet mops have a universal problem, the smell. If you've got a robot dragging a dirty, wet pad around, and then it goes and sits on its dock for 3 days,
You get a swan.
you get mold, you get that mildew smell.
Which is exactly why the maintenance section is so detailed about this. It's not just a charger, it's a multi-stage clean station.
Okay, walk us through the cycle. The robot docks, then what happens?
It starts a three-stage hygiene. Step 1, clean water. Vacuum high pressure. Last, the mop pads themselves, sterilizing the Step 2 is a hygiene. Flushing the pad with water at around 65 degrees Celsius to get all the germs out.
That's much higher than that.
It is, but step 3 is the real solution to your swamp problem. Hot air dry.
And it blow dries the mop pads.
It blasts them with hot air until they are completely dry. That prevents moisture from sitting there, which stops mold and odors from ever starting.
So the idea is that I, the human, never actually have to touch a dirty mop pad.
That's the whole point of autonomous care. You're not peeling some grimy cloth off the bottom and washing it in your sink. The machine maintains its own hygiene.
It sounds amazing, but there's a trade-off here. The unknowns section of our analysis points to a big gap in the data.
Battery life.
Yeah. Generating steam takes a massive amount of energy. Boiling water is not trivial,
It's not. And the brief doesn't list a runtime for when it's in steam mode.
which makes you wonder, right? If you have a big open-plan living room, can it actually steam clean the whole thing on one charge? Or is it going to run for 20 minutes, go back to charge for 2 hours, and then start again?
That's the real-world performance question. Until we see independent reviews, we have to assume steam mode might significantly cut down the coverage area per cycle.
Right. It might be a choice. A quick vacuum of the whole house, or a deep, slow clean of one room. Okay, let's pivot to the last pillar, connectivity. Because in 2026, nothing works alone. This is part of the Samsung SmartThings ecosystem.
It is. And the integration is really designed to lower the friction of actually using it.
The brief mentions Bixby voice control. And, voice assistants can be hit or miss, But the example they gave for the natural language processing is interesting.
The command is just, "Hi, Bixby, clean the living room."
It sounds so simple, but think about what has to happen for that to work.
Oh, yeah, it requires semantic understanding. The robot has to know its own location, access that digital twin map, identify the zone you've labeled living room, plan a path, and then go. You're not opening an app and drawing a box on a screen.
It removes the interface, but, and we have to talk about this, anytime you have a device with cameras, mics, and a detailed 3D map of the inside of your home,
You have to talk about security.
a robot that knows your floor plan, knows when you're home, and can literally see your kids is a massive privacy risk if that data isn't locked down.
And the technical brief really acknowledges that head on. The phrase they use is, "Trust is a technical requirement for AI-enabled home cameras."
So what's the solution? How do they stop someone from hacking the video feed?
They're using hardware-backed security, specifically something called Knox Matrix and Knox Vault.
Break that down. What's a Knox Vault?
Okay, think of the processor like a house. Most of the software lives in the living room. It's accessible. Knox Vault is like a physical safe that's built into the foundation of that house. It's physically isolated from everything else.
So the sensitive data, the map, the video, it lives inside that safe.
Exactly. So even if someone manages to hack the main software, they can't get into the physical vault where your private data is stored.
And what about when the data is being sent to your phone?
End-to-end encryption. So when the robot sends data over your Wi-Fi, it's scrambled. If someone intercepts it, all they see is noise. They can't reconstruct the video of your kitchen.
That hardware isolation is reassuring. It's not just a password. It's a physical barrier on the chip itself.
Correct.
So we've covered the tech. What's the market reality? Who is this actually for? The briefing outlines 3 target user scenarios.
The first one is the pet owner. We've talked about this. You need strong suction for fur, object recognition so it doesn't bump the dog, and the steam for sanitizing biological messes.
The second.
The mixed floor home. That's for people with high thresholds, a mix of rugs and hard floors. The Easy Pass wheels and the AI Floor Detect are the big selling points there.
And the third one.
The busy family.
Ugh.
The house with constant spills, a dropped juice box. The value there is that the parents don't have to stop what they're doing to deal with every little mess. The robot can handle the chaos.
But there are still things we don't know. We mentioned battery life. There's another big spec missing here, suction power.
That stood out to me too. Usually vacuum marketing is all about pascals. 5,000 pow, 10,000 pow. It's like the horsepower number.
And there is not a single Pascal figure in this entire document.
Which suggests one of two things. Either the suction is just okay, and they're hiding it, or, and I think this is more likely, they're arguing that with steam and agitation, raw suction power just matters less.
Right. If you're scrubbing with boiling water, you don't need a wind tunnel to lift the dirt.
Exactly. But it's still an unknown.
And the price.
TBD. But, I mean, look at the parts list. LiDAR, 3D stereo cameras, that Dragon Wing processor, a miniaturized steam boiler, a self-cleaning station with heaters.
This isn't a budget device.
No, this is a flagship premium product. We are probably looking at a very substantial investment
And availability.
after CES 2026.